In today's episode, giving my old boss his rightful due. Call the cops about your stolen garbage? Sure thing. Come see me in the morning. So let's get started. Giving my old boss his rightful due. So about 7 or 8 months ago I worked for a private contractor, mostly just grunt work, carry this, destroy that, etc. Every now and again I would get a specific job. Well, on this occasion I had to install a vapor barrier and insulation in a crawl space, the tight, dirt floor space with a lot of pipes that's under your house. So I put my cheap crawl space suit on that's already ripping as I kneel down to soldier crawl under the house. I grab a flashlight and the rolls of plastic sheets. I'm rolling the vapor barrier out and staking it down as I go. As I'm pushing the stake into the dirt I felt something run across my hand. I just about Kool-Aid manned right through the floor above me. But of course I didn't. I grabbed my flashlight and started looking around. And in between just about every floor joist I can see dozens if not hundreds of eyes reflecting light back at me. I look directly above my head, and there's like 3 tablespoon-sized spiders, staring right into my soul. I suppress the second wave of panic and try to calmly make my way out of the crawl space. And I can't help but notice every pair of eyes on me as I'm leaving. After my successful noping out I called my boss and told him what was up. He told me something along the lines of "They're more scared of you. You're like 1,000 times their size," and after a good 5 minutes of calling me a P***SSY, he says the faster you get it done the faster you can get out. So I, the naive youngin' I was, decided he was right, and what could they possibly do to me? I laugh at that now. Anyway, I'm sure you can see where this is going. I managed to get the vapor barrier down without a problem. Other than the permanent and immense feeling of dread and impending doom. But as I was stuffing the insulation in between the floor joist where the critters were hanging out, I felt a blunt sting on the back of my hand. I immediately knew what it was. I crawled out again, called my boss again, and after another 5-minute phone I headed back in again. Also on the phone call he told me I had to head to another house and prep the living room to be painted. Then I could go to the home. I was back inside the crawl space, absolutely hating my career choice at the moment. But I finished the crawl space, drove 10 minutes and prepped the living room. I drove the work van back to his house, got in my car, and decided I was too tired to sit in a waiting room for hours on end. I know how stupid that was. But went home, showered vigorously, and went to bed. When I woke up in the morning my hand was a little swollen, but nothing to be concerned about. I went to work and got sent a house in the middle of nowhere to load 6x6 post into a trailer to be used at another job site. Almost as soon as started to work and sweat, my hand started to ache, and then burn, and then eventually blissfully went numb. I didn't bother calling my boss, I just texted him, "I need to go to the hospital." I got a call about 20 minutes later as I'm pulling my car out of his driveway. I'll save you his 35-minute tangent. In conclusion, he said, "If you're not feeling well then don't come in. Because right now you're wasting my time. And I'm not paying you for an 1 and 15 minutes worth of work. Be at my house tomorrow 6 a.m. ready to work the whole day." And that, folks, was F***ing it. I called off the next 3 days due to my hand. I could have worked after the first day. I left early. The antibiotics and ointment the doctors prescribed me worked wonderfully. But why should I have if I wasn't feeling 100%? Anyway, I started looking for a job the same day I left from the hospital. After that I called out for everything from back pain to AF***king hangnail. I only lasted a month and a half after this, but in that month I called off at least 15 times. The only notice being a text message that he would see when he first wakes up. Normally it wouldn't have been a big deal having one employee calling out ritualistically, but I was the only person working for him at the time who could or would drive the van that had all of his tools and equipment in it. So the days I called out he had to leave his shiny, black, diesel, lifted Ford F-250 at home, and he would have to drive the work van. Honestly, I was trying to get fired at that point. And I loved saying, "Sorry boss, I just didn't want to waste your time." A few things I should mention. The job was under the table, and that's why I didn't get fired immediately for attendance, and why my boss was able to just not pay me. After looking at a few different spiders on the internet, I think the ones in the crawl space were wolf spiders. I'm not positive, but they look pretty similar. Oh, and just in case it wasn't clear, there must have been upwards of 200 spiders in the crawl space. I wasn't much of an arachnophobe beforehand, but after that I can't even think about a spider without getting chills and what I can only describe as a war flashback. Call the cops about your stolen garbage? Sure thing. This happened a few years ago while I was working at a will-not-be-named drugstore. Some of the details are fuzzy, but I'll paraphrase as best I can. Apologies since this is long. At said drugstore, we have a booth where people can buy lottery tickets, cash their winnings, etc. I was working said booth when what can best be described as your typical Karen walks in, wanting to check some lotto tickets. Karen hands over 2 lottery tickets, and I run them through the ticket reader. Prize already claimed pops up on the screen, meaning the woman had taken these tickets elsewhere, collected her cash winnings, and opted to take the winning tickets with her afterward. This meant at best, she mixed up her tickets. At worst, she was trying to run a scam, though why she thought it'd work, I'm unsure. Miss, the system is showing you have already cashed these tickets, meaning you've already received the prize. I put the tickets down on the counter in front of her. Karen, that's ridiculous. There's X prize on this one and X prize on this one. Go get your manager. As you wish, my minivan princess. Manager, miss, you've already claimed these prizes. There's nothing we can do. Karen does as Karens do and flips out. I was only 16 at the time, so my manager handles her as I stand back and watch. Eventually, something clicks and Karen hears for the first time what I'd told her 10 minutes ago and calms down. Not for long. Crisis averted, my manager returns to her office. Karen, where are my tickets? I placed them on the counter in front of you. They're garbage anyway, since there's no prize on them. Karen, I didn't take them. Someone stole them. I keep all my lottery tickets. Where are they? Giving her some side eye, I'm not sure. I'll check around. No lottery tickets to be found anywhere at my station. I inform her that she SOL, but again, the tickets are worthless. Karen, returning to her primal state, I don't have them, so clearly someone stole them. Call the police right now or I will. This time I go to my manager's office and inform her of the situation. KMC. We decide if she wants the cops involved, then very well we'll oblige. We do this both because if she calls, she'll likely say something nuts and cruisers will roll up prepped for an armed robbery, which would be a huge waste of police resources, and as well, perhaps this is a good time for Karen to learn appropriate use of emergency services. I call the non-emergency line and tell Karen to sit tight. We live in a quiet suburb-like town in our city, so a single officer arrives shortly thereafter. I speak to the officer and inform them of the situation, noting specifically we called in the best interest of the situation. Karen and the officer step into the break room to chat. What I hope occurred was a stern talking to and swift diagnosis of Karenotitis, followed by some crocodile tears and a hefty fine. Unfortunately, since I was the one who called, I don't believe this occurred, and since I couldn't hear their talk from my station, I can't say with any certainty what happened in there. That said, I can piece together that it wasn't pleasant as a flush-faced, purse falling off her shoulder, tip-tap walk running Karen emerged and made a beeline for the exit, not making eye contact with anyone. The satisfaction of a lightly cursing Karen struggling to find her sunglasses in the cosmic wasteland of her purse. The officer stopped by briefly to let me know not to call for anything similar, though I could tell there was no animosity between us, having been on the same side in the eternal battle against Karens. Come see me in the morning. This happened quite some time ago, but I can remember it like it was yesterday. I work in a technical field with on-site visits to customer site being the norm at the time. One customer had been waiting quite some time for service due to asbestos abatement in the building blocking access to the basement where I needed to work. The customer was government and the end user was an executive, so they insisted we do the work anyway. I was simply told to go to site and do the work with no preamble. I reasonably believed that the asbestos abatement was completed and all was good to go. Well, when I got to site they told me that the area was still contaminated, and I would need to comply with their protection protocols. Once I learned that these protocols included striping off all of my clothes, showering, putting on an environmental containment suit complete with isolated air supply, I more than balked. I said hell no. I wasn't performing emergency work, I was adding a telephone line to a phone system for an executive that could wait as far as I was concerned. Next step was to inform my manager of the situation. To say my manager and I did not get along would be a severe understatement. Openly hostile on both sides would be closer to the truth. He simply couldn't fire me, or he would have, I have no doubt. I was simply too good at my job. I, on the other hand, did not have a lot of opportunities to move elsewhere as the knowledge and job was very specific. Anyway, this went as expected for me. M equals manager, me equals me. Me, hey, I can't do this job as they are still removing asbestos. M, we know about the asbestos, but we made arrangements for access. Me, you didn't tell me anything, I walked into this blind. There's no way this is important enough for all the hoops I need to jump through. M, do the job or get your A*S in my office in the morning. Me, I'm not doing it, so see you in the morning. I knew how the morning meeting would go. He'd have a letter for me to sign about refusing to work as a best case. Possibly worse, he might actually follow through on past threats and let me go. As luck/convenience would have it, this particular building was home to the Department of Labor for my region. I strolled down to the 5th floor to talk to Occupational Health and Safety. I explained the situation to them, and they were very helpful. Not only did I have the right to refuse work under those conditions, I was obligated to refuse. Had I actually done the work and something went wrong, my company would have faced stiff fines and sanctions. They were very familiar with this specific scenario, as they themselves were in the same building. They provided me with all of the relevant statutes in documented form, highlighted relevant sections, and drafted a letter to my manager by name advising him of his obligation to support my decision. I slept well that night. The next morning was interesting to say the least. There was a lot of back and forth, but I did not reveal my ace in the hole as I wanted him to hang himself. He wanted me to sign several pieces of paper stating that I refused to do the work, that I put the company in a bad position, and that my employment with the company was subject to termination. I maliciously complied, took copies, and stored them away safely elsewhere. I then returned to his office and gave him the documents that were prepared the day before with the biggest shit-eating grin I can ever remember having. He did not take it well, claimed I set him up, threatened me, the whole gamut. I told him I needed a written apology, or I would take everything to corporate. He never came through on the apology and I never went to corporate, but he also never gave me grief after that. I basically castrated his authority over me, and although it would be a stretch to say I enjoyed my remaining time at the company, that would not be accurate, but at least it was less bad. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.